back. Welcome back to the Top 5 Sports NBA podcast. This is our third installment. Today is Friday, January 15th. The last time we recorded was December 30th. So there's been quite a lot going on in the NBA. Obviously, the thing we're getting to is the big Brooklyn Nets, Houston, James Harden trade. But there's also been a lot of games not happening due to COVID, a lot of postponements. A lot of thin rosters getting put out on the court. So we got a lot to get into. So I'm excited. And my boy, what's good? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing well, man. Like you said, it's been a lot going on along the association this past couple weeks, man. And so a lot to talk about. Both on and off the court. So I'm looking forward to it, man. The league, man. Never a dull day with the NBA at all.
Never. Well, so we have our segments that we've been trying to do through our first two episodes, and one of them is our what the segment. So like, what the hell is going on around the league that's kind of wild, bizarre. I guess this episode is only fitting to lead with the trade, the Houston and Brooklyn trade, as well as I guess you can throw in Indiana and Cleveland being involved in that as well. So, me and Ed were texting, what was this, Tuesday, right? We were texting Tuesday. No, we were texting Wednesday. Wednesday.
Yep.
Trying to figure out when we're going to record and just kind of talking over ideas and segments. And then this hit and you instantly text me like, bro, when are we doing this? We gotta get it done now.
Because I had to, bro.
Yeah. Blockbuster, to say the very least. I don't think there's been a trade of this magnitude in quite some time. I think what we see mostly in the NBA in recent years is that the big moves happen in free agency as opposed to trades of this magnitude happening. And then even when you look at the amount of picks and just draft capital the Rockets got, it's kind of unprecedented. So just going to start off again with just a review. I got Woj's Twitter pulled up right now. Most people know how the trade went. Okay, so I'm just gonna read the Rose tweets off. All right, so Brooklyn acquired James Harden, a 3-way deal with Cleveland. So Caris LeVert, Dante Exum, Rodion Kurucs, who I don't even know, 4 first-round picks, including the Cavs 2022 first round via the Bucks, and 4 Nets pick swaps to the Rockets, which included Jared Allen and Taurean Prince to the Cavs. There was obviously more to that. So as far as what Brooklyn got from, as far as what Brooklyn sent to the Rockets with the trades, they got 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2022, 24, 26, as well as 4 pick swaps, 2021, 23, 25, and 27. And so that happened, right? And so when that happened, we were all like, whoa, like that's a lot, right? There was questions around that was too much. And then I guess the wrinkle that kind of took people off guard, but we both liked, was when Houston, who had just got Caris LeVert, traded him to Indiana to get Victor Oladipo, who is on an expiring contract and also kind of wasn't really liking his time in Indiana, kind of wanted to get out there as well. So that is it. It really was a lot. It's probably even more that I can talk about for this trade, but I'm gonna give you the floor to kind of talk over your initial reactions and just what I'm saying? Like, what?
For sure, bro. Wild. I mean, obviously, for those who tuned in, we talked about Harden, on the 30th. In December. And so, this was like one of the first things that for me, I was like, it was only a matter of time, before it happened. And you saw this coming to a head, and it really came to a head when he had his interview after they lost to the Lakers. And I mean, they just got blasted. It was a pretty underwhelming performance. The Lakers were partying the entire game. You had Bron acting like he was Steph Curry, shooting threes and dapping people up before the ball goes in, like just a full-on party. And so when Harden went into that interview, it just basically said, we don't have enough pieces. My time here is done. I don't know what else to do, and I don't know why this has continued to happen. I was like, yeah, this is about to end. Hey man, you can say what you want about him, but it was effective, right? Because he got to where he wanted to go. So
Yeah.
I know fans obviously get annoyed by that, but at the end of the day, this is a job for them, and just the way we move in jobs, they move in jobs. And so
Yeah.
if you want to get yourself to somewhere else, shit, by all means, do that. But yeah, man. I mean, on the basketball front, I I picked the Nets to jump off. And to make it to the finals against the Lakers, to start things off in our first pod that we ever did. And so, I think this is a big piece. I question their depth and what they're going to do. Obviously, missing Levert, Dinwiddie. We talked about injuries; he's out with ACL. Jared Allen was huge off the bench. So what are they going to do, when one of those guys aren't on the floor? It's going to be interesting to see. And then again, they have a 2-year window. All those guys have player options after the 2022 season concludes. So theoretically, all three of them could leave if they wanted to.
Right.
So that's something looming that, they ultimately the Nets will have to face and think about. But yeah, man, it's exciting time, man. I tell people, like, I'm all about player empowerment, players deciding where they want to go, and you can call it teaming up, you can call it soft. I mean, who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't guarantee a win, right? I mean, injuries happen, things happen, you never know. We all thought the Warriors were going to win in 2019 when Boogie signed there and Katie was all there. What happened? Injuries completely derailed that, and now you got the Warriors sitting at 6-6 right now. So you never know what could happen, man. But I know you're a big Harden fan, man. What are your thoughts on the move and him going to go play with Katie and Kyrie? Which I don't know how you feel about them, but obviously I know you love Harden, so he's gonna have to share that opinion a little bit more now.
Right. So what I think is the positive throughout it all is that between Kyrie, KD, and Harden on the court, right? Strictly talking about playing the game of basketball, they are even though they score a lot, even though they're probably score first mentality type of players, they're very, very willing passers. And not only are they willing, but they're good passers. They know how to read and fill defenses. There's a lot of games, you look at Harden's career in Houston where teams said, hey, you're not going to get it tonight. Those are games where he had double digits assists easy. So he's definitely a willing passer. He's definitely a teammate and just a guy in general who can he knows how to play different style. I think people confuse the fact that he got the keys to Houston to play how he did, pound the ball into the rock, shoot a lot of threes, get to the hole. They confuse that with him not being capable of being a different type of player. So I think Harden, I watched his comment today. He kind of spoke to that, he has that ability to adjust. And I think, obviously there's going to be some growing pains. But as far as he goes, I have all the faith that, when it comes down to just strictly basketball, that all three of those guys can adjust and make it work. Now, obviously, when it comes to things like the egos and say they go on a stretch of rough games where they're losing, and the question of who's getting that last second shot, that all the stuff outside of basketball is when the situation can get a little hairy. I know you're gonna talk about Kyrie a little bit later, but ultimately winning is the cure for everything. And you talk about the depth, right? So I guess you can say Landry Shamet and Jeff Green are the two players that kind of stand out off the bench. And it's going to be important for Steve Nash to figure out how to kind of stagger those three guys so where they always have somebody out there that can really run the offense, which should be pretty easy given the fact that you got three dudes, you feel me? So, it's going to be very, very interesting. And I think defensively, it's going to be something too that it's going to have to be a shift in mindset and culture, and they're going to have to really buy in. Harden sometimes is going to have to be a primary defender. Maybe not the primary, but I mean, if you look at this team, look at the roster as it is, I mean, I guess you can have Jeff Green on some of the best opposing wingmen, but Harden might have to step up and guard some better players than what he usually had while he was with Houston. So the defensive aspect is something that's going to be very interesting. So,
yeah, that's a great point, man. The defensive aspect, just because, I think a lot of people, don't realize how critical that is, you think about, Steve Nash on the sidelines, he's got D'Antoni with him now. And so you think back to those, mid 2000 Phoenix Suns teams, and, they scored a ton of points, but, in the playoffs, man, ultimately at some point you're going to have to get stops, and that's ultimately what's going to win you games. And if you cannot get a stop, high pressure situation, that just continues to build. So, I'm like you said, I'm curious to see what those guys do, man. Like really having to guard. Kevin Durant obviously proved it in his time in Golden State. Obviously he really locked in on the defensive end. So I don't think there's any issue with KD, but Kyrie and Harden are going to have to do things that they haven't historically done. Do one big thing I think a lot of people are overlooking in this trade is the fact that Joe Harris, I don't know how, he did not move. That. No, I'm serious, bro. To me, that's mind-blowing to have, because Joe Harris, one, can defend, and he knocks down shots at a high clip, and he also can put the ball on the ground if you run him off the line. And so the fact that he didn't move, and he has three of the biggest needs that you need in the NBA right now for somebody who is a specialist, that's insane to me, man. Like, because now, theoretically, on the court at all time, they're going to have 4 knockdown shooters and a big. Yep. And that's tough. And it's not like this is KD coming over from Golden State where he had never really played the 4 or the small ball 4 or small ball 5. Like, he did that in Golden State for 3 years. And so now you're talking about, this is nothing new to him. He's been doing it. They've been putting him all over the court. So yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting, man, to see how they figure it out. They're definitely gonna hit a block where they lose some games and things are gonna happen, but that's all part of it. Like, think about it. When Bron and Bosh and D Wade first linked up, with the Heatles, and they got all excited, and people, Bron was on that revenge season, and they were the bad guys of the NBA. You remember they lost? I think they started the season 9-9, right? Yeah. And at one point they rallied off 27 games in a row. And, of course, they lost to the Bulls. What up? Bully season.
I remember that game.
Yeah, bro. I don't know how we did that, to be honest. That was crazy. But, yeah, the Bulls beat them at home. And, yeah, man, so, like, it's going to happen. It's that growing pains. But my biggest thing is, like, dude, when they're at their high is going to be better than – the majority of the league, bro.
And it's like, how much will defense matter in the regular season, especially when you're like, you can't be guarded when you're scoring so many points. It's like, well, we just need to get a few stops, a few important stops. Y'all ain't gonna stop us. So like,
right, you know what I mean? Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, if you're not stopping them, like, what are you gonna do? Because my thing is now, if you go back and look at Harden, and not to take more time on him, but if you go back and look at Harden, man. There were times where he was getting double teamed at half court in Houston. Yeah. You can't do that now. You're not going to allow Kevin Durant and Kyrie to play 4-on-3 against a set defense. It's not going to happen like that. No. And that's just buckets. Like, so now they're at a state where teams are really going to have to guard each of those guys straight up. And it's going to be one of the first times they've had to do this. And what are you going to do? And before, and to start the season, Kyrie Irving was on a pressure cooker. So it's going to be interesting, man. I think you're going to see Kyrie still being Kyrie in that scoring role, and James is about to facilitate. A lot of people think James just likes to dribble. I'm like, no, that's the offense that they designed. That's what they wanted there. Exactly. But let's not act like when he came in the league, he wasn't the sixth man and like he wasn't doing stuff for OKC, because that's not the case.
Yeah, exactly. If you had to choose who of this group will be the Kevin Love or Chris Bosh, if you're going to compare those Heat and Cleveland teams, who would it be?
Oh, Kyrie for sure, bro. Yeah. I saw it was a hilarious tweet, man. Like I tell you, y'all need to get on Twitter. NBA Twitter is the best, man. Someone said Kyrie left LeBron because he didn't want to be Robin, and now they said that man is Alfred. So, you know what I mean? Like, bro, I mean, I can't. Hey, look, man, they call my man's Alfred. Said he hold it up for Batman and Robin at this point, bro.
Oh
just in the crib, holding down the mansion, bro. Hey, no, man, I mess with Kyrie, bro, but God, man, I do think he will be not the odd man out, but like he's going to be that third option.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be where Chris Bosh and Kevin Love, because that's a little different, right? Like they need
different position too.
needed people to give them the ball to be
Mm-hmm.
effective. You know, Kyrie
Yeah.
can go get a bucket if he wants to, whenever he wants to. So it's a
Right.
little different. They'll take turns, but yeah, if I had to pick, it's gonna be Kevin. Excuse me,
Yeah.
it's gonna be Kyrie. Who you got
Right.
for
Right.
that?
Right.
It's the same for
Yeah.
you, or you
I
think?
agree. I agree. So yeah, and obviously, Kyrie's unstoppable as just as much as any other scorer. But I do like a certain part of me is a little old school when it comes down to playoff basketball. When it comes to like having that extra level of physicality to your advantage when it comes to getting buckets, because again, Kyrie can't really be stopped, but I like my 6'7" thick James Harden in his situation. You know, he's quick, he has that first say, but he's also a bully. He's a body. So
Wow.
I like that aspect always, and a little bit harder to stop, in my opinion. So so yeah, man, that's really it. This is gonna be a very, very, like, you talk about microscope. This is gonna be something that the whole league is just gonna be watching nonstop, man. How this Brooklyn team looks, how they work, and maybe what they do to maybe finish out this roster. I think they have like 3 spots they can possibly add, and not a lot of flexibility, obviously. So yeah, man, that crazy, just crazy. NBA, man. NBA,
NBA,
man.
man, you gotta love it, man. You gotta
Gotta
love
love
it.
it. Gotta love it. All right. So we skipped what was usually our first segment, and that is
The Chicago nigga.
yes, sir. We're back talking about our Chicago Bulls. And unfortunately, they had their game postponed Tuesday, so they haven't played since Sunday. They took on the Clippers and they lost in a close one.
Yep.
But there was some good things happening even within those losses. So if you want to go ahead and start us off with this,
Yeah, bro, great things. You know,
yeah.
this is honestly what I expected, man. We talked about this, in episode 1, to kick it off. And my hope for the Bulls were like, be competitive, play hard and lose close games, because I'll be the first to tell you, I definitely want a top 10 pick next year. Top 5. Like, I mean, next year's class is loaded. So I definitely want
Right.
one. So I'll be the first to say, but I want those guys to grow. So, to be 4-7 right now, they start the season 2 big blowouts. Outside of those 2 big blowouts, man, so they've been in every game as close, and there were some games that if the ball bounces the other way, they get a stop, make a shot. You talking about them potentially being, instead of 4-7, maybe, maybe they're 7-4. To be
Right.
just be honest and transparent.
No,
I mean,
definitely.
so it's yeah, man, it's exciting, man. I just love the way that each of the guys are growing. We were joking around talking about how some of the things that we've been talking about, on the first pod, we're starting to see come into play now. And, I think about like Kobe White, like, Kobe's averaging 17, 5, and 6. And that's where I assumed he would be around this year. And it's crazy to see his development, because even from a playmaking aspect, I said he have 6 assists, but I was like, that's going to be on the high end. And like, he's there, You seeing Zach Lavine, be the first to say, I've talked about this. I said we needed to trade Zach because I believe Zach will ultimately leave the Bulls, not because he's not good enough. I'm just all about getting assets if somebody could potentially leave, right? And so for me, man, I'm like, we need to do whatever we can to keep Zach, because you're not going to get many players better than him. And so I just got to take that chance now, because Zach is doing things that are different. People could talk about, him averaging 27 now and this and that, but dude, Zach is making winning plays, bro.
Yeah.
He's scoring more efficiently. He's attacking the basket. He's shooting 60% from 2-pointers. Like, that's insane. As a guard, 60%, like finishing at the rack. And he just playing defense willingly now. That's to me, man, it's a joy to see, man. I'm hoping, we can get some guys back, got a few guys out. But yeah, man, it's been exciting, man. What's been your thoughts on how they've been playing so far, and ultimately, what are you hoping to see, going forward?
So I honestly do echo a lot of the same sentiments that you just said, man. Like, obviously, not a lot of, I guess, organizations around the league will be happy with the team being 4-7. It kind of just shows how bad the Bulls have been in the past. And we're talking to them in a good light.
Oh shit, we on now.
Yeah. So, but top to bottom, man, there's just a lot to like and be happy about. And I remember seeing Twitter be upset because we like signed Garrett Temple, and like I've watched games where like he's been giving some really, really got nice minutes, just like one of those stabilizing veterans that can help really any roster around the league. And we talk about Lavine, how good he's been doing, scoring the ball, playing defense, even assisting the ball. And I think this year is going to be tough, to keep him out the All-Star game. Hopefully he continues on this level. And obviously, I'm in a little bit. I'm gonna talk about this rookie class in general, but our rook Patrick Williams has just been probably better than what I expected, especially this early on. LeBron had the post-game interview when he kind of broke him down and gave him compliments on virtually like every aspect of his game. I think he's shooting like 45% from three as well. He's not taking a bunch, but he's knocking them down. Free throw percentage, like I called out earlier in the first episode.
Right.
I think it's around 85% too. So I think these last two games where he's been able to guard Kawhi for a good portion, and then LeBron the game before, it's just like that's just invaluable experience, man. So
hey, listen up for all y'all who are hating on Patrick Williams, P-Dub. It was a lot of y'all. We did not forget.
Yeah.
I see y'all walking around Chicago with those jerseys,
yep.
Make sure those apologies are as loud as the disrespect was. That's all I got to say to y'all. Please. Because I see a lot of y'all, oh, Patrick Williams, he's so great. We tried to tell you.
Nah, because who is Patrick Williams, man? He came off the bench, bro.
He was a six man at Florida State. Florida State's a football school. We heard y'all. So
Obi Toppin, man. Denny Abdia. I'm just happy that he's doing his thing. I really am happy that he's doing this thing, man. And I guess another aspect of this team too is that we've been without Larry and Sato, two guys that are important rotation guys due to COVID protocols. And that's another aspect of this team that I'm pretty sure those guys, they're good to go. If I'm not mistaken, Larry and all those guys that had to sit out because of the COVID are good to go tonight. So against the Thunder. So that's going to be a game I'm going to be watching pretty closely just to see how they're all meshing. Now, those two players aren't really going to improve us defensively too much, but I think, there's no denial what they bring to the team offensively, especially I'm a big fan of Sato, even though like last year he got a lot of hate because people hated Jim Boylan and they hated that Kobe wasn't playing as much as he should. So they just saw Satoransky as this like bum who like didn't really deserve to be playing. But like in reality, I think he's a really good solid rotation player, probably our purest point guard on the team as well. So
Sato can be decent. I think I think Denzel may cut into his minutes because Denzel has been playing pretty solid off the bench, which, I mean, to be honest with you, I can't believe I'm even saying Denzel's playing solid, but you got to call a square and a circle, bro. Like, Denzel's playing very solid piece. You did call out a funny point, man, in terms of, like, them helping defensively because, joking around with my buddies, I'm like, man, it's kind of crazy, like, we lost a couple of the white guys to COVID, and defensively, we look a lot better. You take from that what you want, but man, that's like more playing time for like that Young and Otto Porter's playing real well, and which is surprising, man, because after I saw Otto Porter, drinking the Kirkland tequila from Costco. In the panoramic, as our boy Gunner calls it, I was like, I didn't know what to think, but he's playing really well, man, and been a huge help for our team.
Good minutes. That's the thing that I've gotten from this team is like a lot of players are just giving good minutes. You know what I mean? And you brought up Denzel too. I feel like the last game I watched, it was a Clippers game. Like I'm in this little this Bulls Discord, and we always just like shooting the shits when the Bulls are playing. And we're all just like, is this Denzel Valentine giving us like really good minutes, like defensively, like getting in passing lanes, knocking down threes, like being like a oddly good secondary playmaker when like the offense might break down off for Zach or Kobe and things like that. So I'm like, I'll take it. These close losses are it. But I feel like games like the Thunder, like tonight's game against like a okay Thunder team are games that I kind of want to see him get a win in. But like you said, the more losses, the more chances we get to get a good pick in next year's draft. So that ultimately should be our biggest goal, without a doubt.
Hey, man, we got to get us one of those picks, man.
Got to get them.
I'm like Tyrone Biggums when it comes to those picks. I got any more of those picks? Yeah, because I need one, man. I need one. I mean, we had the 7. I mean, shout out to Lori, shout out to Kobe, but we had the 7 pick for
3 years in a row. It was Wendell too. Wendell was 7.
Oh, Wendell too. So yeah, all 3 of them. I'm man. For the love of God, can we please get in the top 5? But this is the first year that like, we get a top 7 pick, bro. I'm happy.
Straight.
Like, bro, I will honestly, no, all jokes aside, we can talk about this later on, but at a different point, in another pod. But yeah, I will gladly take anyone in the top 5, top 15 coming up in this next year's draft.
Deep to say the very least. All right, that's our board segment. Our boards are making us proud, and that's a good thing. And now we're gonna move on into 5 things we either liked or did not like since we recorded our last podcast. And I'm going to start us off, and that is number 1 team in the NBA, led by the best player in the NBA, Los Angeles Lakers. That they're my de facto second favorite team. After the Bulls, I gotta go with my boy Bron, and they're 10-3 right now. They've been balling. They destroyed the Rockets the other night, like you just mentioned. And the thing that I want to point out is quite simply, they right now they have the number 1 defensive rating in the NBA, and that was shocking when I first saw it, because when you thought about who they let go of, you got the Twin Towers with McGee and Dwight Howard. Rondo, when healthy, is a really good perimeter defender. Losing guys like that, Danny Green, even though we both have questions on whether or not he's actually still good at the D part in 3-and-D, but a lot of people saw his team and was like, you got this old man Gasol coming in. There should be maybe offensive increase, but defensively, a lot of people doubted whether or not they can still be that team, and that just hasn't been the case, man. I think what's happened is that Schroeder, for one, has been an underrated defender throughout his career, and I think he's committed to being, if anything, a pest. Because I think a lot of times people see small guys and they kind of just dismiss them as being like, good defenders. But with activity and being a pest, picking guys up, full court, getting the passing lanes, those things are really invaluable. And I think that's what Schroeder's been doing a really good job of. Talk about Trez, a player who has been kind of ridiculed a lot defensively as well, but it's starting to look like his issues is more so of awareness and coaching and committing to playing within a unit that like values that thing more and more. Even though Doc was a great defensive coach, you're starting to see him just making better decisions, because athletically, even though he's a little bit undersized, he has great feet. He's quick laterally. He has long arms. So, he has some makings to be a solid defender. It's just a lot of that's mental. But, yeah, man, overall, they've impressed me. They've really impressed me. And I was looking at the roster before we recorded, in a sense, kind of just thinking of how different they are with the Nets as far as depth goes. And they legitimately have 11 guys. 11 guys. Like,
they do.
They're easily the deepest team in the NBA. So, yeah, they're still my favorite as far as the whole thing goes. But yeah, that's my number 1 thing that I've liked since the last time we recorded, because
of course,
little Lake Show love.
Hey, no, man, I like what the show is doing, man, and I like the way the continuity that they have. They're really locked in, and like another thing, man, we talked about this a little bit before, but you really cannot understate how much of a pickup getting Taylor Horton Tucker, shout out, Uptown Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Simeon, what I'm saying? Chicago love all around. You can't understate how great of a pickup that was in the second round, in the 45th pick, I believe, or 44, one of those two. And man, he brings a new element. He guards, he knocks down shots, he play makes, he can finish at the rim. pairing them with Caruso and Kuz and all these guys, man. They're just a lot of guys who can get buckets on the Lakers. And now, they've built this chemistry over the course of, last few years. And the new guys that they got, are just basically kind of slotted in and, kind of figure, things out. So, like you said, man, yeah, hats off to the Lakers, man. They're playing really well. Big fan of them. For, number two for, on the likes and dislikes. Keep it in the West Coast, keep it in California. Gonna take it to your area. Man, shout out my boy Steph Curry, man. Steph and Draymond. So like I said, Steph was my pick to win MVP this year. And so, I really felt that a lot of people, were disrespecting, Steph coming into the season. And to start off the season, that disrespect got louder because, without Draymond, the Warriors did not look good. I think the first win of the season maybe came against the Bulls when they hit the buzzer beater from Damian Lee. Big shot. And so, yeah, man, and people were going nuts and going insane. And so, I knew, as things began to build, Steph heard that. And, as soon as Draymond came back, which, like, again, heart and soul of that team, and you can laugh about, his averages, being like, I think it was like 5, 8, and 7 or something low. Laugh all you want, but you can't understate the way that man basically operates as a point forward for them, a defensive anchor, and gets everything in order. And I knew as soon as Draymond came back, Steph was going to take out. And what you see, put 62 on people's heads the second game Draymond was back. And man, it's just y'all just need to realize that, like, for me, like, that team, they're 6-6 right now. They are in the top 8 in the West. Some people say they're at top 18. I don't know how it's going to finish out, but I can say that those dudes are locked in, and keep an eye out for them, because if they continue down this path and the confidence that Draymond is instilling into Kelly Oubre, into Andrew Wiggins, into some of these bench guys coming, with the way Steph is playing right now, averaging almost 29 a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Come on now, like, you never know what could happen. So, it's definitely could be a scary season out there. Not to say they're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals and everything, but they definitely can give some people a run for their money. So I love what's happening in Golden State, man. Hopefully they pick it up. Shout out to the GOAT PG, my GOAT PG, Steph Curry, and hopefully my man keeps it rolling.
Yeah, I love what you said as far as Draymond goes, because I think there's players in the NBA right now that if you look at their stat sheet, you'll be like, okay, they're doing pretty good this year. And you watch the games and some of it's empty, some of it's meaningless, they're on bad teams. And then vice versa, there's players that don't fill up the stat sheets and they don't look like all-star players. But when you watch the games, you can just tell their impact just goes beyond, what the stat sheet does. And the biggest thing with Dre that you mentioned that I was looking forward to is how he positively affects James Wiseman, who was a player that I highlighted in our first episode as rookie picks I liked. So we've just been on it this year.
Locked in.
We've been on it this year. It was crazy too because he barely played. I can't remember how many games he played in Memphis, if any at all. But
like 11 or so, if I'm not mistaken.
So Dre I was really looking forward to seeing Draymond come back because he's always been a very unique player that I've enjoyed, and I think when KD came, I think the respect level for him kind of dissipated because he wasn't as important to that team's success. But now people are starting to wake up again and understand that he's unique and he's a good player for a reason. And a lot of that's because of what he has up top. So yeah, for sure. I'm with the Warriors too. I'm right behind you. I'm rooting for those guys. I agree with you too. Steph is my GOAT PG as well. So only hoping for the best for my boy. Only hoping for the best.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Hope so.
Okay.
Good call on Wiseman too. Good call on Wiseman.
Yeah, that's our boy. And perfect segue with James Wiseman, and that is because like this rookie class, they've been hooping, and I don't want to take away credit from what they've been doing because I think it's a lot of different angles to their success, and there's been I don't know if I mentioned this before in the previous pod, but regular NBA season, rookies are get the luxury of having summer league, and that's like their first real NBA experience when they're playing against like guys who play in the league, and even more so, like they play a lot of guys that are fighting to get on rosters. So there's a lot of good basketball being played in the sense of effort. Sometimes chemistry is not there, but that's a part of their development. And then training camp is usually longer and more hands-on than what they've had this year because of COVID. And so you would think, given all this, that rookies would struggle a little bit more than what they've had this year, but that just hasn't been the case. You just look from across the whole league, East, West, like there's guys who just stand out at playing just really good basketball. I guess a side note for that as well is that due to COVID, well, first and foremost, the NBA is as young of a league as it's ever been. That's just the reality of the game today. But then with COVID and teams having to put out different rosters, 7 or 8 guys only playing, I guess guys who may not have been getting those minutes have stepped up. I like Tyrese Maxey, but him scoring 39 points is probably something that wouldn't have happened if you were playing regular season basketball. I think the amount of field goals he took was the most since Allen Iverson in 76ers history. So it's kind of crazy. So wrap your mind around stuff like that. So but the list, like I could just go on and on. You can talk about LaMelo. You can talk about Halliburton. You're a guy, you're a rookie call out. So tip my hat to you for getting that right. Wiseman obviously been borrowing our boy Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
It's Precious Achiuwa in Miami looks like a really promising. Like there's so many guys all around the league that has been playing really, really good basketball early on. So shout out to this class, man. I think this class got a lot of
completely.
Yeah. This class was getting a
lot
of
agree, bro.
No, my bad. Go ahead.
No, so I completely agree, bro. Like they were getting blasted a little bit coming in, not seen as good. But yeah, to your point, man, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, man. It's a deeper class than it looked like. It looks like it has a lot of hungry players who are willing to prove themselves. But I really need to tip my hat, man, to LaMelo Ball.
Yeah,
because Melo, man, very unorthodox way to get to the NBA. Going to Lithuania at 16 and then coming back and playing at Spire Academy in Ohio and then going to Australia. And, a lot of people, for reasons outside of his control, did not like Melo, man. And a lot of people, were kind of praying for his downfall. But, that kid is balling and he's adding a new element and he's not even starting and he's locked in. Like right now, Melo leads rookies in scoring, rebounds, assists, and steals. Yeah. And in terms of totals, he leads 4 out of the 5 major categories. His totals are higher than all rookies right now, and he's coming off the bench. And I mean, I can't say enough more about that kid, the way that he just kind of handled the pressure, some things that were kind of, were put on him and, thrust upon the shoulders, whether right or wrong. And so, yeah, man, shout out to this rookie class, man. They're handling things with class, they're handling with grace, and, they look like they have a chance to be pretty special.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, man. And that being said, in terms of, things that we continue to like, one of my things, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion for most people, but I can ultimately say, Kyrie Irving situation right now, people can say what they want to say about it. Kyrie Irving treating the NBA like a 9-to-5. Oh, I'm all here for that. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. I mean, you can like that he's not there, and you can say that, we pay good money to see these guys play, and I bought his jersey, this and that. All right, cool, that's fine. But also at the same time, if you need a moment to decompress or whatever you need, like that's ultimately what he needs, and it's best for him. And so people are going to have different thoughts on that. A lot of people are probably going to disagree. The only thing that I, disagree with is that, Kyrie basically self-anointed himself the leader of the Nets. And so, even though his teammates and the organization support him, are behind him, it's kind of tough when they're having to fill those questions about his whereabouts and, when is he going to come back or what's going on with him, instead of him kind of taking those on, himself and, figuring that out and going from there. And then obviously, even though it was a private event, the party just due to, the restrictions and guidelines in place with the pandemic. And those are the only things that you can point to. But, him saying that he needs to decompress, after, what happened on the 6th at the Capitol, like I get it. People get it. Like that's a lot of stress. And so, Kyrie is somebody who's really proven to be on the ground. People can say what they want about him, but Kyrie puts his money where his mouth is. He really invests outside the court, in his communities. And even, even this past week, Kyrie was on a Zoom call with one of the New York DA office, and he was on there talking about ways that they can reform things. And so, you know what I mean? Like people can say what they want. Whenever a player treats, the NBA like a 9-to-5 or any other professional sport, I'm here for it. This kind of goes back to this. People forget about this. What did Bron do when he was in Cleveland? I think it was year 1. Cleveland was going through a tough stint, and LeBron took 2 weeks off and was kicking in Miami. Why not?
I did not know about this story.
Oh, yeah. Why not, bro? Took 2 weeks off and kicked it in Miami. I need to get my mind right and come back and yeah, people can say, well, they have 4 months off and they have all this time. That's cool, bro. Like that's really not time off. They're still in the gym working. Right. They're just not with their team doing it. Exactly. Right. So their jobs year round. So if that happens, man, shut up. And my biggest thing is, I think it really comes down to the fans and media, the way that they portray things. Mm-hmm. I mean, because his teammates in the organization have not come out and said anything that would allude to, any negativity. This is all from the fans and the media and what they think they need that Kyrie needs to do. So, yeah, man, as players treat, things as 9-to-5s, Eric Dorsey II will always be here for that. And I will continue to support that because I know for sure when I want to have time off and you want to have time off,
right?
That time is off.
Yeah, gee. Well, I ain't gonna lie, man. That's an angle that I really haven't kind of addressed or thought about when it comes to Kai, and I really do like respect that. If anything, like you damn near kind of changing my ideas of how I look at him because I we all kind of fall victim to narratives the media or us as fans put on players, and like through a lot of what Kyrie has done, like I tell people all the time, and like they want to like sit up and always talk about how like he is or was a flat earther and just like obviously that's kind of goofy, but like there's just more to a man, you feel me? Like I get like that's goofy, but like you said, there's things that Kyrie does and does to this day and has done that has proven that like he's a pretty good dude. Definitely weird, but a good dude who means well. That's another thing too. He means well for sure, without a doubt. And
for sure, 100%.
As far as only thing the COVID thing you mentioned, and then like the lack of communication. Yeah, I mean that truly really isn't it, and I haven't really thought about that in the lens of like if a guy that plays in the NBA just wants to take a break for whatever reason, he should have that liberty. Like I don't understand why we would want to treat anybody any different, and so. Yeah, that actually is a very, very interesting viewpoint and very rare. I can't think if I've heard anybody really have this angle, at least from what I've seen as far as how Kyrie goes. And I respect it. If anything, you're starting to change my mind about how I view bro. So
yeah, man. Yeah, I think it's something to be said, man, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're all people and, stuff's going on. Like I tell people, a perfect example, man. Everyone sees what Derrick Rose has been doing and kind of like this resurgent. And I hate when people say, he looks like the Derrick Rose of old. This is just a new Derrick Rose and he's healthy, right? And so, but, people forget, especially in Chicago, man, Derrick has some dark times with the injuries and the way that fans treated him and the way the media did him, man. That's taxing, bro, just in general, like their jobs. And so people kind of forget when he was in Cleveland, I think it was maybe 2017 or so, like when D Wade came there, Derrick Rose was there. Yeah. they came there, right? And, one of the things that they said, Derek wasn't playing. He was kind of getting hurt. And Derek took some time off and he was like playing pickup at Cleveland State, just getting his mind right. And so you see Derek Rose now, you see everything he's doing, man. It's like, who's to say that time off kind of like made him realize how much he loved the game and he just wanted to get back. And so, sometimes people just need to gotta, recharge and get back right, man. So, all for that for sure.
Yeah, no, that's some real ass shit, man, for real. But yeah, I guess to move on into my final thing, and this is something I didn't like per se, and this is in regards to some comments that George Hill had made a few nights ago after the NBA had imposed some stricter restrictions as far as like COVID guidelines, and this was kind of like a talking point in a lot of your national media shows. But I wanted to kind of chime in. Just because, just generally speaking, like overarching, even outside of basketball, I think when it comes down to this pandemic, people have very selfish lenses on how they view protocols and things that happen around the world and how the communities are handling it. Like it's easy to be like, well, I'm in this situation, I'm XYZ, I might be healthy, I don't have people around me at risk, but that's never really the point with all these things that are going on. So, you can't deny that the NBA has a bag to protect, not just NBA, but some players as well too. It goes full circle. So it's important you want to try to lessen these postponements and things like that. But again, just understanding that the way COVID might work and all the things that go into a basketball organization, right? You got coaches who have families, you have training staffs, and if you're acting in a way that might put other people at risk, they have their own lives to go home to. They have their own families. You never know like who along that line, who in that like kind of web of people who might be affected could be at risk. And that's just something that kind of been resonating with me as far as like the whole world. But I think what George Hill brought up kind of like was a little disconcerting because he's a vet. He's been doing this for a while, and he's not the only one in the league that's kind of feeling the same way. And obviously it's a sacrifice that he has to make, and it's a decision that he made to play. So it's definitely a touchy subject, but I just hope that people can kind of start to view this outside of themselves, because that's what it's really about, because there's so much stuff going on. And but yeah, I mean that's really all I got on and I don't know if I really like preface what he said, but basically he was just a little just upset as far as like he feel like the rules are too constricting. He was like, if I'm playing basketball on court with these guys, but I can't dap them up after the game, then like I don't understand what the difference is. Which I kind of get that logic too, and him feeling like if I want to go home and see my family, I should be able to. And I think a little bit that was like overstating what the actual rules were, but
Right.
at the same point, like you just want to make sure you just hope more and more guys like are looking at this with a different angle, because at the end of the day, like it's safety for people beyond you and your like immediate family, as well as like just being able to hoop, man, at the end of the day, which is something that most people should value, fans and players alike.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In terms of obviously making sure that people remain safe and that you're thinking about other people's and not just yourself. I think I think George's comments, what I will say, is I think they come from a bit of a place of kind of frustration, not so much the protocols themselves, but just with the NBA in general. Because one of the closing points he said is that if we have to do all of this, then maybe we shouldn't be playing. And
Right.
if you kind of go back to the bubble, you remember George Hill was the one that really kicked off things in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks deciding not to play against that game in Orlando, in terms of when things happen with, Jacob Blake. And so in Wisconsin and, him being obviously shot in the back 7 times. So I think George Hill overall just was I think that came from a place of frustration just in terms of how things are being handled. But I definitely agree in terms of like, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, if I want to. Like, I think that definitely sets the wrong tone, sends the wrong message, because there are definitely people out there that are, operating that way now. So something that, people are going to be mindful of and conscious of, because, I think all of us are trying to get back to some normalcy and, just trying to do our part. So
Right.
especially with a platform that like George Hill has, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yep. Well, that's it for 5 things we like or didn't like, and we're gonna move into our last segment, which is a little bit of our hot takes / predictions moving forward in the NBA. And I have to note, because we did say we will be tracking this, that I am 0 for 1. Last week was the first time we did it, and clearly this was just a oversight by me, not truly understanding how serious Harden wanted to get out of there. But last week I was like, yeah, man, the Rockets can play some games together. But he gets back, e.g., Christian Wood, they're gonna look great, and they're gonna win some games. Harden's gonna be like, yeah, this might work. Nah, bro. And I was off. I was off. so 0 for 1, me for sure. And I might be 0 for 2 with this prediction, and that is I think it's gonna be a different team coming out of the East. I do, and I think it's gonna come down to a number of things. It's either gonna be health or it's gonna be some off the court chemistry aligned issues. Because again, I can't deny the on the court stuff. If I'm saying all things in a perfect world, these guys are playing basketball together, and everything's going well, then I'd be dumb not to pick the Nets. But yeah, I can't. It's hard for me to truly believe in this. I need to be proven otherwise by behavior, and yeah, I just question it. So that's my hot take size prediction. It really be the Bucks, maybe even the Sixers, given how they've been looking early. But yeah, that's what I got for this week.
And so, perfect segue, because to counter that, my, hot take for the day, Fire Take Friday, if we will, is I'm doubling down, man, on my pick for the Nets to come out the East. So I picked them, I picked the Lakers and Nets to make the finals before the Harden trade, and I'm doubling down, like Charles Barkley says, guarantee coming out. Hey, man, I'm all in, man. Hey, listen, chemistry aside, all this, hey, those dudes are professionals, man. And I would have to have a strong belief that they'll get it done. I think a lot of people, obviously, Harden, Kyrie, and KD have some of the more complex personalities to the media and fan size, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are 3 dynamic people with very interesting personalities. You have Kyrie Irving, when people make jokes about the flat earther. You have, James Harden, his jersey is in the rafter at a exotic club, in Houston. And shout out to those women down there, because I know that economy is about to be hurting with my man.
They hurt.
And then you got Kevin Durant, who replies to tweets and Instagrams and hat burners. So it's just, I know the first thing people see is that, oh, they're just not going to mesh well just because a personality standpoint, not basketball standpoint. And I'm like, man, when they roll the balls out there, those dudes perform. People can say what they want. So yeah, I'm a double down, man. I could look back and be like, hey, completely wrong. But yeah, with my oldest son, Kevin Durant, being on the Nets, I have to believe that he is going to get it done for sure.
If there was one person that would prove me wrong and make you right, it would be Kevin Durant, because I think when it comes just to like, if the person that just loves the game and just wants to hoop more than anything, and that just takes up the most of his livelihood, I think it's KD. And I think no matter dude played when he had his last year in Golden State, when he damn near probably shouldn't have went out there, but his love for the game and him wanting to be there for them teammates, he said himself, this was his decision ultimately, and Golden State, gave him every opportunity to play, but they weren't going to force him. So that was his choice. So if there was anybody, I think he's probably the most solid, which is crazy because it's KD. We're saying is the most solid,
right?
But and I think that's why that's why I think I like guys like Steve Nash for me is almost perfect in this sense because a lot of the on the court stuff won't really need that much tweaking. I mean, rotation is going to be one thing and locking in on defense, but when you have a player, when you have a coach that was a player and arguably one of the most respected players in NBA history, that won't be an issue. So Steve can speak and talk to these guys from a place of like I've been there, done that, 2-time MVP. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I did my thing. So they have reasons to be hopeful for sure.
No, I agree, and that's a great call out on Steve Nash. Like, I don't think people realize how much of I mean, people know obviously the basketball acumen that he has in terms of what he's done, 2-time MVP, his accolades, but just in terms of managing personalities, man, like he's great, dude. Like Quentin Richardson had, a perfect comment that basically sums up Steve Nash. Basically, him and Steve at both signed in Phoenix. They're both in the room waiting to sign their papers, and then there was an oversight by, the GM in terms of contracts, and so Quentin's was off based on what they were agreed on. And so Steve was like, oh, his is off, just take something off mine. Like, get it done, essentially. You know what I mean? Wow. And like, that's how Steve Nash is. And so I think you can even think from the way that things are happening right now with Kyrie, man, and the way that he's handled that situation. I'm not going to generalize and say every coach will do this, but there would be coaches that in this case who would not be handling this Kyrie situation the way that Steve is, right? Like you would have leaks from the media, you'd have things. We haven't heard any rumblings about, the Nets are disgruntled, this or that. Like everything that's coming out has been support. And I think that starts with Steve making sure that, hey, it may be happening, but this is what it is. Like, For example, great example, like Phil Jackson letting my boy Dennis Rodman. Another thing, back to Vegas. So another thing about PTO, you see, Dennis Rodman, pioneered that. But yeah, like this kind of like how Phil handled that. And that's kind of how I see Steve Nash, man. Kind of that zen, very chill, relaxed guy who can really manage personality. He's got a great team there. He's got a Mario on the staff who's really helping Jared Allen become better. And I think they can do that with Claxton. He's got D'Antoni with the offense. He's got Jock Vaughn with the defense. And so, yeah, man, special things happening there. And I think Steve is going to get those guys to buy in and, lock in.
Yeah. Well, time will tell, man. Time will tell. And our my previous responsibility, which is covering my Chicago Bears and doing those pods, is over, unfortunately. Those boys did not get it done. But what that means is hopefully we should be able to kind of uptick getting these out. Hopefully, like, at the very least, get one once a week done and move from there. But that's all I got for this episode, man. Thought it was a good one. Looking forward to some more moving forward. So, my boy Ed, thank you again.
Yeah, man. Of course, bro. Of course, man. It's great, man. Like you said, man. Obviously, with the Bears not coming through for us, hopefully, we'll kick this off and continue to give feedback and what you guys want to hear and thoughts. And yeah, man, it's great, man, for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, man. That's the pod, man. That's the pod.